Hey guys, welcome back, and today I'm going to be talking about the animation I worked on in the previous video. Like I promised, I was going to go deep into the steps that I went through. So yeah, here we go. So when I'm working on animations, I like to treat them like they are illustrations. So the same steps that I go through for illustrations is kind of exactly what I use for animations as well. So I go on with the sketches, and then move on to the line art, the colors, and then the compositing. But with the animation, I end up adding a bit of sound effects to it. So we'll add a sound to the steps that we take when it comes to animation. All right, so for the sketch, it's more of a rough animation, let me say it that way. That's where I basically animate the character roughly without going too much into detail, where I get to know how the poses will be, how the positions of the face will be, everything about the character being animated in the scene without going too much into detail. So it's just to lay a foundation to help me know what to do when I'm doing the line art part. Yeah, so basically the sketch part is just a rough version of the whole animation to get a fair idea before I go into detail. Moving on to the line art. Line art is the most tedious part of the animation because you have to be precise with your lines. You have to make sure all the lines are enclosed so that the coloring stage will be easier. You have to make sure it's well cleaned up so it doesn't look too sketchy. Yeah, the line art is a bit annoying to work on because it takes a lot of time. But you gotta do it if you want the quality. So yeah. So after the line art, we move on to the coloring. So the coloring stage is where you put on the base colors mainly, and then you work on the shadows as well. And this kind of helps you to create a sense of depth and then separate the character from the background, since now we have colors helping you to identify where the character is. I don't know if you get what I mean. But yeah, basically that's how I go about it. I use the base colors mainly, and then I add on the shadow with a multiply layer on top of it. The multiply in this case is basically the blending mode that I'll be using for that layer, if you get what I mean. Alright, so after the coloring, we move on to the compositing. So the compositing stage is where you have to use a compositing software like After Effects, or probably if you want in Procreate Dreams, you can do everything you need to be done to the animation. But I prefer to use After Effects because it gives me more of a creative control, and I think that's what the anime industry they also use. They like to use After Effects for most of their compositing. So yes, for compositing, I went through the having to export all my files from Callipeg to After Effects. They have this feature where you're able to download the script from their website, and you just basically install the script into After Effects. Then that kind of creates an importation feature to get your files in After Effects in layers. Makes you feel like you're working directly in Adobe Animate and you're transferring into After Effects, if you get what I mean. So yeah, with all the layers lined up, you can just rearrange them the way you want and apply effects on each of the layers. You can also create adjustment layers to affect everything that you've done. A whole lot of stuff, which is why I like using I prefer to use After Effects over Procreate Dreams because, like I said, it gives you a lot of creative control. So in the compositing stage, I'm able to add a lighting, and I'm able to add some shadows to the background as well. I already had a background in mind, so it was quite easy to, paint it after animating. But usually it's best to have your backgrounds ready while you animate. Kind of helps you to, map your character around the environment. If not the final background, at least a basic layout of how the background should look, and maybe a grid to show the ground perspective of the environment. Yeah, so for the background, I didn't really waste too much time. I quickly worked on the whole thing, painted it, and then made it look good enough. All right, so in terms of the compositing, I added a background to the lowest part of the whole layer arrangement to make sure they are it's not overlapping the layers of the animation, if you get what I mean. So yeah, with a bit of blurring in the background and then maybe some camera movements, I got the chance to create a sense of depth in terms of focal. By using the Gaussian blur effect, I was able to get a bit of depth, rack focus from the camera view. So after the compositing, you can see I have my light tones at the top, and I'm able to determine where the light source is from, or directly in After Effects, which is really cool. So yeah, compositing is very important. It helps your animation to look alive, like it's in the environment. All right, moving on to the sound. I mostly use Premiere Pro to add the sound to the animation, but sometimes I try to make use of FL Studio. FL Studio is a music production app, but you can also use that to edit sound effects to put in movies and animations as well. So I decided to try that because I've already started with learning a bit of music production, so like wanted to make sure I'm making use of what I have to get the best out of it. So yeah, I added the sound effects, went to Pixabay to download a couple of sound effects that I needed, and yeah, basically that's how I went through the whole animation process. It was kind of tedious because I wasn't sure of the workflow I wanted to go for, but after working on this one, I kind of got a fair idea of what I should do. In my opinion, Callipeg is a good app for animating, but not so great when it comes to coloring. But it works, and it can export to almost every animation software that you can use, including After Effects. So it makes things kind of easier because you used Callipeg, but it doesn't give you all the features that you need to animate fast enough. But it's fair. From now on, I think I'm going to be using Clip Studio Paint more often than Callipeg. But if I need Callipeg, it's always gonna be here. I'm gonna use it and work on a couple of more animations. So yeah. Alright, I think that's it for this video. I just wanted to lay it all out there so you know how I go about it. This is not necessarily the professional way to go about it, but this kind of makes me more comfortable working on animation, so that's how I go about it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.